Yeah? And so there's another qaida that I want you to learn. That لَيْسَ كُلِّ اخْتِلَافٍ افتراق. So not every differing leads to disunity. You'd be surprised to know that there were many differences amongst the companions. If we had some of those differences, perhaps we wouldn't speak to each other. But I didn't stop them from being united and from loving each other. And let me give you some examples. Or I'll give you one example. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was making Hajj in the time of Uthman ibn Affan. Uthman ibn Affan was the Khalifa, and so he was the Imam. And he was leading the people in prayer. And Ibn Mas'ud, who was also a scholar, was behind him. And he noticed that Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu would pray the Dhuhr and the Asr 4 instead of 2, as the Prophet did when he was making Hajj, as a traveller. So he said to him, Ibn Mas'ud said to Uthman, that you should pray 2. The Sunnah is to pray 2. The Prophet prayed 2. The next prayer, Uthman prayed 4. And Ibn Mas'ud prayed behind him, 4. So some of the companions went to Ibn Mas'ud and said, you said to him, pray 2. He didn't pray 2, he prayed 4, and then you prayed behind him. So it's like hypocritical, isn't it? That you said to him, pray 2, and then you prayed behind him. Either you should have stopped your prayer at 2, or shouldn't have prayed with him at all. Because he's wrong, isn't it? This is the way we think. He's wrong. Ibn Mas'ud said words really we should write in gold and memorize. He said, Al-khilafu shar. Differing is evil. I did what I was required to do. I gave him the advice. He himself is a scholar. He knows. He has knowledge. He has come to a different conclusion. I'm respecting that. Not only am I respecting that, but I'll follow him because he's my leader. This is not a problem. And we have to embrace khilaf in this way. SubhanAllah, look at this Imam Shafi rahimahullah. What he said. He said that I did not argue with anyone except that I prayed to Allah that He would show me the truth upon the tongue of my opponent. It's not about me being right. It's about me just following the truth. I just want to know what it is. If it comes from you, I'll take it. It's not about Shafi'i. It's not about my personality. It's not about me being the great Imam, always right. It's about me just trying to follow the truth. And he also said, and this is like a beautiful stance to have, in regards to these kind of differing. Sometimes, as Asif said, that the more knowledge you have, the more humble you become. And sometimes a little bit of knowledge makes you arrogant, makes you certain. Whereas really, there's no certainty there at all. And if you were to learn a little bit more, you'd realize that actually the issue is a bit more complicated than you actually think. So Imam Shafi rahimahullah would say that my opinion is correct. But it could be wrong. It could be wrong. And your opinion is wrong. But it could be right. Yeah? So according to what my efforts, I've arrived at this is the conclusion about this particular opinion. But I don't know, I don't have certainty. The issue is, it's not one of those ijma issues that you can't differ over. The issue is open for discussion, open for interpretation. Now sometimes we as Muslims we don't have that same kind of generous embracing of differing. One time a brother was going to lead the salah in one of the masjids locally in South London, and one of the person said, I'm not praying behind that guy because I saw him wipe over his socks, so I'm not gonna pray behind him. Yeah. So listen to this. Listen to this. A man comes to one of the students of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah, came up to him and said, if I see my Imam eating camel meat, then getting up and praying without making wudu, should I pray behind him? The issue is that Imam Ahmad was of the opinion that eating camel meat breaks your wudu. That was his stance. All of the other madhahib, they said that breaking camel doesn't break your wudu. But that was Imam Ahmad's position, that it breaks your wudu. So what are you saying? Look, you've seen someone, he's not in wudu. What do? You pray behind him? How's your salah going to be correct if he's not in wudu? What do you think he said? Did he say, go and pray by yourself? Or pray with him and pray again at home? He said, أَفَلَا أُصَلِّي وَرَاءَ الشَّافِعِي. Shouldn't I pray behind Imam Shafi'i? And that's his opinion, that it doesn't break your wudu. It's a legitimate opinion based on text, evidences. I may differ based on other evidences. But just as his opinion is not binding upon me, my opinion is not binding upon him. And so long as you're within the realm of acceptable opinions, so long as you're within, the general broad spectrum of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then these kind of small differences, these modal differences in the way we pray, perhaps maybe wudu, these are of no consequence in terms of what? In terms of our unity. In terms of our unity. Doesn't mean that we kind of stop striving, stop learning, that can still carry on. We can still make nasiha, we still can advise, we can discuss, but it doesn't lead to disunity. Those same Imams, they still discussed, they still taught, they still struggled, but it didn't lead to disunity. In fact, they were such that this is the way they were taught. It said that Abu Hanifa's students, his two students, his two most famous students, Muhammad al-Shaybani and Abu Yusuf, they differed with Abu Hanifa in more than 2/3 of Abu Hanifa's opinions. That's not a criticism of Abu Hanifa. That's because they were taught correctly by Abu Hanifa. To know that these things, when the knowledge comes, you change, you don't become rigid, but you change according to how the proof is. And by the way, no one has a monopoly of the truth. Don't think that anyone has a monopoly of the truth. It doesn't work that way. Everyone has, in these areas of differences, there is a degree of leniency that is afforded for difference of opinion. But, and there's a big but, so long as there is some juristic precedence to that opinion. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah said, إِيَّاكَ أَن تَقُولَ قَوْلًا لَيْسَ لَكَ فِيهِ إِمَامٍ. Beware of saying something for which you have no imam, no precedent for saying it. Don't just make opinions out of your own mind, out of your own kind of efforts, in issues that have already been dealt with by scholars of the past. That would come under blameworthy differing, because you'd end up following an opinion that the scholars have united that this was not a correct opinion. So this is really the way that we should embrace this type of differing of opinion. And so to summarize, we said that there's blameworthy differing, that differing that goes against ijma' or goes against a clear text. And the motivations behind this type of differing may be different. Maybe the kind of a modernistic trend to try and reinterpret Islam. Maybe ignorance, maybe arrogance, maybe all sorts of reasons. But essentially this is blameworthy differing. You can't come across a extremely new opinion. This is present now. People are like this. They'll say, for example, let's redefine the kind of whole thing about Lut alayhi salam and his people, and and there's people that will say this. There's people that have big beards and wear things. They say that homosexuality there's not a problem if they're two adults. Yeah, people have said this. Homosexuality is not a problem so long as the two adults are consenting. Then what do you do about those verses in thingy of the Quran about Lut? They redefine it, re-explain it in a way that doesn't contradict this idea of. So no, homosexuality has been prohibited this by the Quran, the Sunnah, by ijma'. This is not open to reinterpretation. This is a blameworthy differing. This type of differing that goes against all of the understanding of the people of the past, this is blameworthy. And by the way, even plucking out one opinion from the past, saying X in the the 7th century Hijri had that opinion, and kind of molding his words to kind of make that kind of fits your opinion, this is also disingenuous. This is also incorrect. Because the fact that only one person had it is an indication that it was rejected. The people didn't give any opinion, any value to it. Otherwise, it would have given more prominence. The Ummah does not unite upon an error. This is blameworthy. And then we have the permissible type of differing. We said the place is two types. We shouldn't confuse the two. The one is where there are just variational differences in the modes that you do things, adhkar sometimes, where the Prophet did all of that and all of that was acceptable. And then you have the differences that are not mutually exclusive, where they can't both be correct. One is definitely correct, one is definitely wrong, but because there is a room, scholastic, juristic opinion has expressed both of those opinions, then there's room to maneuver in those opinions, and acceptable to have any of those opinions. It's not blameworthy. The truth is still there. One of them is still the truth. But if a person follows any one of those opinions, then he's not deemed as being sinful, is not blameworthy, and it's not permissible to be disunited with this type of differing. I hope that that topic of differing and the realms of differing is slightly clearer with that short discussion. والله تعالى أعلم. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.